Imagine waking up every single day not knowing if you and your little daughter will eat at night, without a roof that actually protects you from the rain, without anyone in the world who believes you can be more than that beggar on the corner. I lived that. I was that man. But today, I have everything. And the way I got here, no one will ever believe it. This is my story. Prepare your heart, because it goes from the bottom of the pit to a place I never imagined was possible. My name is Matthias. When this story begins, I was 34 years old and had absolutely nothing. My home was an old wooden shack, black plastic and broken asbestos tiles, built at the bottom of a forgotten valley on the outskirts of Belo Horizonte. The roof leaked so much that when it rained, I spent the entire night holding a rusty bucket with one hand while hugging my daughter Laura with the other. Laura was only 6 years old. Her eyes were big, curious, and always hungry. She never complained out loud, but I could see the way she squeezed her little belly when the hunger hit. Every single day, I woke up before the sun rose. I would go out with a battered wheelbarrow to collect cans, cardboard, pet bottles, anything I could sell at the scrapyard. Sometimes I managed to get 8. Destaci, most 15 reais. After walking kilometers, with that money I would buy a kilo of rice, half a kilo of beans, and 1 egg to share with her. I always gave the bigger part to Laura. I would say I had already eaten on the street, but in reality, many times, I was left only with the smell of the food. People passing by on the street would look away as if I were invisible. Some would throw coins on the ground as if I were a trained animal. Others would say with contempt, "Get up and go to work, you lazy bum." I wanted to shout back, "I do work. I work harder than many people who have a car, a house, and a salary at the end of the month. It's just that the world doesn't give me any chance at all." But I swallowed my pride, because if I answered back, I could even lose that dirty, damp little corner where we slept. At night, after Laura finally fell asleep, I would stare at the sky through the holes in the roof and ask silently, "God, why me? What did I do to deserve all this?" I had no answer, only silence, the sound of rain dripping into the bucket, and the low cry of my daughter when her belly hurt from hunger. I promised her every day, while combing her tangled hair with my fingers, "One day, my daughter, you will have a real bed, hot food every day, a pretty dress, and even a doll. Daddy will make it happen. I swear on my life." She believed in me. That innocent little faith of hers was the only thing that kept me from giving up completely. One day, fate decided to deliver one more blow that almost destroyed me. I had saved, with great sacrifice, 87 reais. Over 3 months, enough money to buy some wood and plastic and fix the shack before winter arrived strong. I hid everything inside an old powdered milk can, under the makeshift bed. When I returned from a exhausting day of collecting, I found the shack completely turned upside down. Someone had broken the rusty padlock and taken everything. The little money, the old pan, even the torn blanket that belonged to Laura. My daughter was curled up in the corner, shaking, with her little eyes swollen from crying so much. "Daddy?" They took the money for our future. I fell to my knees right there on the dirt floor. For the first time, I cried desperately in front of her. I couldn't hold it back. That same night, the temperature dropped a lot. Laura started coughing hard, a dry cough that wouldn't stop. High fever, her body burning. I wrapped her in my old jacket, picked her up in my arms, and ran barefoot through the dark streets to the nearest health post. Tere. The attendant looked at me with a mix of pity and bureaucracy and said, "Without updated documents, and without a fixed address, I can't admit her. Come back tomorrow with the papers." I begged. I shouted. I fell to my knees on the floor again. Nothing worked. I walked 4 hours with her in my arms, feverish and delirious, to a larger hospital in the center. We arrived almost at dawn. The doctor finally saw us. "Diagnosis: pneumonia," he said, with a serious voice. If you had arrived 2 hours later, she might not have been saved. While Laura slept on the stretcher, I leaned against the cold wall of the hallway and thought, If I lose her, there's no reason left to keep living. The injustice wasn't just the poverty. It was seeing my daughter suffering because of a system that didn't even see me as a human being. I left there with an expensive medicine I had no way to pay for. I sold the only decent pair of shoes I had. I went back barefoot, stepping on stones and hot asphalt, carrying my daughter in my arms, my feet bleeding. The following days were the worst of my life. Laura got a little better with the medicine, but the shack was colder, emptier, and more dangerous. I couldn't collect trash properly anymore. My feet were injured and swollen. I started begging in front of a large supermarket. A security guard kicked me out several times with pushes. "You can't stay here. Go away." One day, an elderly lady stopped, looked me in the eyes with genuine compassion, and said, "My son, God doesn't abandon anyone." And she gave me a 20 real note. I thanked her while crying, but inside I thought, if God doesn't abandon me, why is all this happening to me and my daughter? One night, the rain was so strong that the shack started to really collapse. A rotten wooden beam fell just a few centimeters from Laura's head. I pulled her out running in the dark, but we both ended up under the marquee of a closed store, soaked to the bone, shivering with cold and fear. Laura, with her weak and hoarse little voice, asked, "Daddy, are we going to die today?" I couldn't answer. I just hugged her tightly against my chest and prayed like I had never prayed in my life. If there is a miracle for someone in this world, let it be for her. I can endure anything, but she doesn't deserve this. I was at the bottom of the pit, without physical strength, without hope, without any way out in sight. It seemed like the whole world had decided that I didn't deserve to live. The next morning, soaked, exhausted, and hungry, Laura and I went to the door of a small church that was on the way to the center. I just wanted a dry place for her to rest a little. A lady about 60 years old, Dana Ruth, saw us from the door and called us inside without hesitation. She was the auxiliary pastor there. Instead of just giving us food and a blanket and sending us away, she sat with me on a simple bench and listened to my entire story without interrupting even once. When I finished, she held my hands and said something I will never forget. "Matthias, you are not a problem. You are a seed that the world has not watered properly yet." She took us to a church support house, a simple place, but clean, safe, and with a real bathroom. For the first time in years, Laura slept in a real bed with clean sheets. I saw her smiling in her sleep and almost cried again. Donna Ruth started helping me organize documents, overdue ID, CPF, everything. She enrolled me in a free electrician course that took place at night. During the day, I continued collecting recyclable material. But now, I had a warm and safe place to return to. Small doors began to open slowly. A construction company needed a temporary helper. I went. I worked with so much effort and honesty that the owner noticed me. It was still little, but it was something. For the first time in a long time, I felt a thin thread of hope being born in my chest. Then, the impossible happened. I was working on a big construction site as an electrician's assistant. During a break, I saw an elderly man who had slipped and fallen in the construction area. I ran, helped him get up, took him to the shade, gave him water, called for help, and stayed by his side until the ambulance arrived. I did everything without thinking about any reward. That man was the owner of the construction company. He recovered and, days later, asked to speak with me personally. "Matthias, I saw how you acted, without interest, without expecting anything in return. That is rare these days." He offered me not only a permanent job with a signed work card, but a real opportunity to learn the complete electrician trade and, later, even to manage small teams on construction sites. But the biggest shock came 2 weeks later. While organizing my documents with Donna Ruth's tireless help, we discovered something unbelievable. My biological father, whom I had never met, had died years earlier and left a small judicialized inheritance that no one had claimed, because no one knew of my existence. It was a modest amount, but enough for me to buy a small plot of land in a quieter neighborhood and start building a real house. Brick by brick, everything at the same time, as if the sky had decided to answer all my silent prayers at once. Today, 5 years later, I have a simple but solid house, with a roof that doesn't leak and walls that protect from the rain. Laura is 11 years old, studies at a good school, has pretty dresses, complete school supplies, and has never felt real hunger again. I am a qualified electrician. I have my own small electrical services company, and I can support the two of us with dignity. But the greatest success is not the money in the bank or the house I own. It is looking back and seeing that I didn't break. It is being able to say to my daughter, everything we went through taught us to never judge those who are down, because one day it was us there, in the cold and in hunger. I forgave the people who humiliated me on the street. I even forgave the person who stole our money that day, because hatred would only have kept me trapped in the past and prevented me from getting here. The faith I almost lost at the bottom of the shack today is what sustains me the most. One day, I went back to the place where our old shack used to be. Now there is a small community garden there, cared for by the neighborhood. I planted a tree with Laura, a mango tree that one day will give shade and fruits. While we dug the earth together, she said to me with shining eyes, "Daddy, remember when you promised I would have a bed? You kept it, and much more than you promised." I cried, not from sadness, from deep gratitude. The moral of this story is simple and powerful. No one is so broken that they cannot be rebuilt. Sometimes the miracle doesn't come like a bolt from the sky. It comes disguised as a kind lady who listens, as an act of humanity in the middle of indifference, as a door that opens when all others have closed. Extreme poverty can take almost everything from you, but it cannot take away your ability to keep trying, to love your daughter, to believe that it is still worth it. And when you least expect it, life can surprise you with a twist that turns pain into purpose, tears into gratitude, and a shack into a home. If you are going through a difficult time right now, don't give up. Your story is not over yet. Perhaps the most beautiful chapter is about to begin. Have you ever lived or known such a turnaround? If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. Leave your like, your comment, and subscribe to the channel for more real stories of overcoming. Because as long as there are people willing not to give up, hope never dies.